Hey, it's Bradford. Here's another WoW TCG Classic deck tech. Here's one that's real infamous. Tyrus Demon Aggro. Alright, so this is a green monster deck. Let's go over this hero real quick. He himself is a Demon Warlock. That's super relevant. He has pay 8 to flip him, or if the opposing hero has 15 or more damage, you can flip him for free. Here's the flip side. When an attacking demon hero or ally you control deals combat damage to a hero, that hero's controller chooses and discards a card. And you can't have Horde or Alliance cards in your deck. That's alright. So anytime that a demon deals damage to our opponent through combat damage, when flipped, they start discarding. So it's already a crazy flip if we can get them to 15 damage or more. We're an aggro deck, so we're going to be pretty good at that. What's the point of this deck? It's aggro, we want to kill our opponents as fast as possible. The reason we're playing a Warlock and that we're playing a Demon neutral Warlock is because of this card, Unholy Power. This is a messed up card. It's actually ongoing. They didn't really have it printed or something like that, but it is ongoing. So once you cast it, it just stays in play forever until someone gets rid of it. Demons in your party have +3 attack, +3 health. For a 4-cost ability, this is probably one of the most deadly abilities in the entire game. And this deck, when this hits the field, I mean, it turns a 1-drop 3/2 who's already overstated into a 1-drop 6/5. Let's go over that again. A 1-drop 6/5. Are you dead yet? Because that's what this deck does. At its core, it's a curve-out aggro deck with crazy toppers that don't cost 6 or 5, they cost 3 and 4. Their big payoff card is this guy, Warbringer Arix'amal. The main thing you need to know is that he is unique. If you look at the center right card, where it says unique, the little bar, so you cannot have another copy of him on the field, so you can't really stack his abilities, so don't try to do that. His ability that says other demons have +2 attack, so it doesn't work on himself, so he's a 3-drop 3/2, really not great stats, but all other demons have +2 attack, including your hero, and all your little 1-drops and 2-drops and all that stuff. So he doesn't have haste, but just putting him into play is a huge stat buffer to all your guys. And I keep saying this, but your hero, it's so important that you can give that damage to your hero. It adds up really quickly, or often you'll just, like, turn 3, play this guy. Now your hero has +2 attack. We'll just use your hero to kill off your opponent's creatures every turn until they get rid of this guy. He's not really that hard to get rid of, so we have 4 of him. Sometimes you need to resource him because you just have another unique copy in your hand. But it's really good to be able to just immediately hold him in your hand and play another one as soon as your opponent kills the first one. I mean, this guy with a random 1-drop, like this guy's a 3/2, he pumps him up to a 5/2. So this is the kind of deck that curves out hard, and if your opponent does not have on-curve answers, the game's almost over. Or if you have even a tiny board developed and you cast Unholy Power, the game's almost over. Since both these cards empower demons and our hero is a demon, not only can our hero attack, but it doesn't say assault, they have +2 or 3 attack. So if this dude's in play, and our hero's sitting here, we now have 2 permanent attack, like a master hero, or like a creature. So anytime an opposing creature attacks into our hero with one of these demon buffers out, they take damage back. So we can no longer be attacked and their opponent gets to keep a board. They'll basically just lose their board if they swing in at all. But they'll also lose their board if they try and fight our creatures because they're enormous. So this is a scary deck. Let's go over the cards one by one though. I did show you Warbringer and Unholy Power, I'd say the 2 core cards of the deck. This card is Signet and Manifested Pain. We have 3, you could probably run 4. It's a 2-cost ring equipment. At the start of your turn, you may put 2 damage on your hero. If you do, you put a 2/2 Demon Warlock ally token into play with the same class and race. Oh, the race is Satyr, or Satyr Demon. So again, you get to make 2/2 Demon Warlocks. That does several things for the deck. Since they're all demons, it's empowered by this and this, right? It's a demon deck, you get that. But they're also Warlocks. So in case you ever decide that you want to jump away from Eye of Kilrogg and instead go to Lesson of the Nether, you are spawning these tokens, but it's a little slow. You won't get the token until turn 3. So this is definitely a slower, grindier version, but some decks, if you get this out early, you just put out an endless stream of 2/2 demons, and then the moment you play one of your demon buffers, one of your 8 of them, you just each little 2/2 swinging for like 4 or 5. It's just way too much to handle. And then you're just taking damage to yourself. Like, it really doesn't matter unless it's an aggro deck. You really should try and stay ahead of your opponent and keep your board developed. I would also say that Sardok is core to the deck. A lot of Warlocks have him as core of their own deck, but we have 4, including, in addition to the 4 Hesriana, so we have 8 pets that we're running, and we also have this guy. So we have like 12 cards that are unique and could potentially have problems stacking up on top of each other. That's fine. You could probably cut down one of both of these if you wanted. But the reason we have Sardok as core to the deck is he's overstated, he's a protector, and the immunity to physical resistance means he's immune. He can protect your board from opposing decks relying on Broderick attacks. The fact that he's overstated and is so versatile means he can get him out early, start attacking, use him to protect your board against other creatures, help control the trades. He can help keep your Warbringer alive, which is really important. And then again, your Warbringer will pump this guy up. He'll become a 4/2 protector. So between him protecting your board and your hero getting pumped up and smashing and controlling the opponent's allies, any of these creatures can kill your opponent. Any of these, even the Hesriana or these little goofy tokens that come into play, they all become really lethal. And all you need is get your opponent down to 15 damage and swing a couple times, and you'll end up making them discard their hand. But at that point, you're pretty close to killing them off. Here's the plain old aggro threats. This guy's in every aggro deck now. 1-drop 3/2. Sounds good. He happens to be a demon, so he's nuts in our deck. This guy triggers, does some damage when he comes into play. He's just efficient, and he already gets his damage by just coming into play, so he's nice. He gets puffed up pretty big, but he has a low health pool, so he'll often be the one that your opponents trade into with Broderick attacks. This guy, I don't know if you've seen him very much. He's a 2-drop 2/3. When an opposing hero has 15 or more damage, he becomes a 2-drop 4/3, at least when you're attacking. That's pretty relevant. He's a demon warrior, so his class doesn't really mean anything. He's just a random demon that has decent stats. Well, he is a 2/3, though. That's one of the things I think is important. Because he has more than 2 health, he gets to survive any kind of 2 damage-based removal, and there's a lot of those in the format. There's also a lot of creatures with 2 attack that this guy gets to survive against. And he also has the ability to trade into opposing allies if you need him to. He's not limited to only heroes. He can make selective trades. This is selective. I have one in the deck. You could probably go up to a few if you'd like. Jadefire Hellcaller is a 3-drop 4/2. When he enters play, he deals 4 shadow damage to the opposing hero unless they choose and discard a card. Usually these kind of mechanics just aren't that great because your opponent always picks the least relevant one for them. But the ability to shoot them for 4 and put them almost in range of 15 damage and they can start discarding cards, or they just have to choose and discard a card anyways. Like, this is a really big problem, and if they don't have any allies in play and there's nothing to really Hesriana, this is a great. There's another 3-drop that we have. There's so many 3-drops that we can play in this deck, so it's tough to kind of pick and choose. But that's why I think having this guy as a 1-of is great. You get to learn if you really like him or not, if he's good against the decks you're having trouble against. So try him out. And we have one of this guy, Prince Xavalis. He's a 3-drop 4/3. He's a demon rogue. At the end of your turn, if an opposing hero has 15 more damage on it, you get to put a 1/1 demon token into play with when this ally deals combat damage to a hero, destroy that hero. So he puts basically 1/1 instantly kill your hero tokens into play. They happen to be demons, so they might even be bigger than that, so you could use the token to trade if there's no way it's going to get into the opposing hero. This is a 1-of in the deck. You can choose to go up on it. I just don't think it's kind of a win more card. Like, if your opponent's already at 15 damage, then maybe it'd be good to just play demons to try and get them to discard. That's one way to think about it. He's also a threat that your opponent sometimes has to make the choice, do I ignore him and just let him hit me for a little bit and then have to kill the tokens later? He really does put your opponents in a bind. He's like a long-term plan. As soon as you get your opponents to 15, if you can use your protector to keep this guy up, you've got a long-term game plan in addition to this other token generator, in addition to these big, like, as soon as you draw and cast these, you win type cards. Just difficult to play against. And by including these 1-ofs, changes up the game plan a little bit. You get to have a little more diverse experience, not just the same creatures every game. For interaction, we've got 4 Eye of Kilroggs. It's cheap. Lesson of the Nether could be used in the deck, but you need to probably pull in a couple of the 1-cost Warlock demons, and they're really not that good. But we have Eye of Kilrogg. 4 of these, just look at your opponent's hand and remove a card from it. The disruption is fantastic. You can just pull out their ability removal for this, or if they have ally removal, if you have relevant allies that match up against their removal, you can remove that. Whatever problem they have versus your deck, you can get rid of it and take. I mean, they have to take the chances they have that they can try to win against you. And if you have a good hand and an Eye of Kilrogg and you rip out their only interaction that means anything, then that game's going to be over really fast. 2 Fellblaze. This card's so easy to trade out for anything else. So keep this open if you want to If you want to get some more disruption in here, you want to make the deck a little more mid-range, put some Tuskar Kites, but for the meantime, Fellblaze, it's a 2-cost ability, deals 2 damage, 2 fire damage to each non-demon hero and ally. So it'll never even touch your board, but you can Pyroclasm, do 2 damage to your opponent's board. But the problem is, the most relevant deck to Pyroclasm is the Hunter deck, and most of their creatures have Aberration anyways, so this ability is just not ideal. It works versus the Bogmara decks, but those decks are a lot faster than you, and unless you get some kind of big demon buffer into play, it's going to be a problem. So Fellblaze, easy one to trade out, but I have it in here for now. Banish to the Nether, Oblivion Ring for Magic, yep, 3 cost, just get rid of anything, it stays in play. Nice universal answer to have, one of the reasons to play Warlock. Dreadsteed, we have 3 of these. You could probably go down to 2 if you want. It's not a very aggressive card, but it makes our card draw a lot cheaper, and it does let us ping shadow damage here and there. It starts to add up. It can make hands a little bit awkward when you have to decide, like, do I keep my resources in my hand so that I can trigger Dreadsteed later? You kind of want to see it in your opening hand or not at all, is typically the case, because it requires a lot of planning to use correctly. Of course, Hesriana, one of the most ridiculous 2-for-1s of all time. Yeah, we're going to run the full 4 in this deck. She happens to be a demon on top of all that, so you can not only 2-for-1 your opponents, get their powers, completely kill their guy, and then get huge. So, Hesriana's winning games on its own. Pretty simple quest. This one, what Illidan wants, Illidan gets. If a demon's in your party, pay 2 to complete the quest and draw a card. It's like the other Proving Grounds, except you can do it whenever you want. Simple, pay 2, and in this deck you're an aggro, you're trying to win fast. A Dreadsteed knocks that trigger down to just 1. It's pretty easy to pay 1, so hooray. You are Rocklith Demon, or you are Rocklick. You are Rocklick? Is that what that's? I've never really read that. Anyways, this is pay 4 to draw 2 because there's always a demon in your party. Your hero's a demon. It's like Rise Me Recognized, but we're a little bit faster, so we're trimmed down to just 1. Dreadsteed of Xoroth, pay 4, put a demon from your graveyard into play, and all of our demons cost 4 or less, so we can always put whatever we want into play. You can use this to just stick this guy into play, shoot them for 3 immediately, or maybe if they're low on health, you can put Zavilis into play so we can start spawning tokens in again. You can put Hesriana back into play and eat another one of their guys. You can put this guy back into play, pump your team. You need a protector, put Sardok back into play. It's so important that it draws the creature from your graveyard and then cast them again. So for 4 mana, you're basically saying, draw me this guy and then pay 3 to play him. So in that way, it's like pay 1, draw the perfect card, and then the other 3 just goes to playing it. It's really mana efficient in an aggro deck. Unless you're using it to like poop out these 1-drops, then that's no fun. Signed in Blood, you could probably push a couple of these to Taretha's Diversion. You gotta look at some other deck text to find that card. But for right now, it's pay 1, complete it, turn the resource face down. This is mainly for the Blood Elf Silvermoon decks that can just turn off shadow damage, which is like half your deck. It's a huge issue. So you can't win if that card's out. You need an answer to it. This also turns off your opponent's draw engines or their Eye of the Storm, which can be used to tap your board down, and they'll probably end up saving like 12 damage or something ridiculous. So this answers Eye of the Storm, answers Silvermoon City, and answers any convenient card draw that you're trying to keep your opponent off of. Maybe you disrupted their only board wipe, and now you flip over their quest so they can't draw and they just die. And you're like, well, welcome to Classic. Let's go take a look at the sideboard. I got 3 miniature Voodoo masks. This thing just comes into play, and you can silence certain abilities or equipments, at least the low-cost ones. You'll note that this ability costs 4, so your opponents can't mask it. And mask is played by mages, priests, and warlocks, so it's pretty commonly played, and this is the type of thing that mask needs to hit, but it just doesn't. So in Holy Power, this card wins the game in 1 or 2 turns almost every game if it stays. So Mini Voodoo Mask helps in any matchups where your opponent has equipment and abilities in play. It's cheap, because we're an aggro deck, we want to keep playing creatures and just use this to turn off like Blizzard from a mage, things like that. Seer Signet, this is a weird one. It's slow and it's expensive. It costs 6. Your hero has Sabotage ability or equipment. Sabotage is a power where you can attack into something. So you give your hero, like he's wearing this ring, the ability to punch opposing equipments or abilities and just destroy them. So it's a pretty neat little effect. It's good versus the equipment and ability matchups. That gives us 5 cards versus those matchups in total. 2 of these are slower, and the other ones are for the fast ones. 3 Soul Inversion. This is for opposing aggro decks. It's cheap. It goes through Aberration, so we need this. You have to be ahead of your opponent. We can't be taking our creatures and trading into theirs. We need to be going for face and letting our opponent try to trade until we play a huge pump card, and they just simply can no longer attack our hero. So that's 3 for the aggro matchup. Here's 2 more for the aggro and the mid-range matchup. Wubb's Cursed Blade, ignore the attack and all that. This thing's mainly just, when you lose, you side this card in, so that you can choose to go second. It's got 2... Well, actually, it's more if you win and you know your opponent's going first. That way you're going to go second. Wubb's Cursed Blade, you pay 2, sack this thing, destroy target ally. If an opponent went first this game, you put their ally into play under your control. So, to sum this up, if you want to do it in one turn, it's pay 4, mind control the opponent's creature at full health. Pretty big board swing. Like Hesriana 2 for winning their guys, and then this thing 2 for winning their guys. It can be hard to come back from. And we choose to go with really impactful cards like this instead of a Tuskar Kite, which is great in the long drawn-out games, but we're not really going for the long drawn-out games. We're looking for demons in play, pump the demons, kill your opponent. The long drawn-out games for us are creating tokens over and over again because we had too many resources in our hand and didn't really draw the right threats in the right order. Those are the kind of long games that we get, and sometimes you lose those. I think that's pretty much it. This deck is really straightforward. Play demons, pump them huge, kill your opponent, interact a little bit if you can. If you're looking for slots to take out, Fellblaze and even Dreadsteed I don't think is that great in the deck. He's pretty slow. You could just add more creatures if you wanted. More creatures in discard would be a pretty decent way to take the deck. If you took out this and this, that'd be 5. You could put in probably like 4 of those 1-drop guys and maybe, I don't know, minus like a Signet, put in a couple more Lesson of the Nethers. You could get in plenty of those Warlocks, so you'd have 4 of the 1-drop Warlock, 4 of this 2-drop, and maybe 1 or 2 of these 3-drops, and you could combo those with Lesson of the Nether to be aggressive like Bagmara, but your plan's centered more around demons than just 2-drops with Ferocity. So, anyways, that's Tyrus Demon Aggro. Hope you have fun killing people on turn 4.